David.
Wait, no, I'm not. I have another call. I have another call. I have to take.
Thank God.
What? What the hell is Lyco? Guys, I'm sorry. I gotta go. I got a problem.
Hope everything's okay.
Me too.
All right, and guys, welcome back to another episode of Be Real with Andy the Game Maker. So, guys, I'm really excited about today's episode. Today, we actually have a special guest, and that special guest is
Who is it?
What? I don't want to ruin the surprise, guys.
What?
But hold on. I have to figure something out, guys. I'll be right back.
Oh, wait, but wait. What are we supposed to? Did he stop recording?
Is he coming back?
Not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Marc.
They call him Samurai. He speaks fluent Japanese.
Are you Fujiyama?
And that was probably the easiest gag we've ever filmed for you guys.
By the way, you're gonna have to edit that perfectly, because we just kind of lightly bantered, lightly silenced, and David said, "Is he coming back?" And I'm gonna say 1/8 of a second later, you opened the door and walked in. So you're just gonna have to edit that like perfect.
Yeah.
It's like right on the line there.
Oh boy. Okay. I'll run with it. I'll see what I can get out of it. Okay. Cool. Well, guys, it's been a minute. It's been a while. So I wanted to ask you. I wanted to prime this up here a little bit. How it was the summer took place, right? So what did you guys do? What was the highlight of your summers?
I was arrested for international art thievery in Bangladesh.
Now, this just in, police officers in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, were asking people to be on the lookout for a man who robbed a store. And I think we do have his description. Can we take that? Let's take his description. Okay. This is the guy they wanted people in Pennsylvania to be out on the lookout for. He's got a nose and some hair that goes like that, and he was wearing a hat at the time of this particular crime. He's got kind of a chin that comes down to almost a point.
Oh, that sounds very boring, David.
Yeah,
to say the least.
In concert with the Bangladeshi government, I arrested David for international art theft.
It was you the whole time.
monster.
Well, anything fun or exciting at all? In all seriousness, like anything worthwhile sharing? No, typical. You know,
I went to the Smoky Mountains. I don't know if y'all have been there.
No, I have not been to Smoky Mountains. West Virginia?
Tennessee, North Carolina border.
Okay.
Like the other, I mean, it's really close.
That's cool.
I was told by a bunch of Northerners that it was that it's kind of a sleepy little mountain town. It is absolutely Disney World for the South. It is. If you go to Pigeon Forge, it's a thing, man. So I could tell you all about it, but don't expect a sleepy mountain town.
Come on, but he's lurking. Look at him go. There you go. Look at
So what you're saying is, okay, but when you say that though, I'm almost thinking like are you guys familiar with, there's Splash Mountain at Disneyland, right? That was, I guess it's being changed over to the Princess and the Frog ride attraction now altogether.
Yeah.
But that was based on the whole Uncle Remus storyline. And Six Flags, I think, originally had that concept for a ride first. And that version.
So it's, again, a log ride that goes down a slide. Right.
Of course. But they couldn't properly maintain the ride over time. So as a result, the animatronics were slowly like breaking down in front of people. Like things weren't working, like eyes were twitching. And at one point, even the animatronics were on fire during a ride, and they had to shut the ride down altogether. And then they completely rebuilt it, did something else altogether. And anyways, that's almost kind of like metaphorically what I'm envisioning when you describe your trip to the Smoky Mountains, Marc.
Yeah, except the animatronic that was on fire was me. You know what I mean? Look, and if it's your thing, like that's fine. The Dolly Parton Stampede, there's a lot of like cool things to do there. It's just a swell of people, and they do not care about you. Like I don't know if when y'all lived in the South or moved to the South, but when you learn that Southern hospitality like doesn't apply on vacation, it's kind of like a F you, I'm eating sort of thing, so it's just how it goes.
Oh anyway. My goodness.
Go to Pigeon Forge. Go to Gatlinburg. It's
Pigeon
great.
Forge. I'm going to do a little slam post right here. Boom.
So, yeah, that was fun. There you go. That was my summer. How about you, Andy?
My summer was pretty simple. It was I had a lot of family come visit me, which is great. But then the highlight of my summer. So this plays perfectly with what we're doing today, which is part of the reason why I'm asking about what you guys did. So I actually went to go see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny over at the El Capitan, but it was a surprise for me, put on by the staff at the El Capitan. So what they did this summer, in conjunction with the release of the film, because it was backed up backs up towards the 4th of July weekend, like that was like the following weekend when after the movie came out, they wanted to recognize military veterans. So they had thousands of applicants. My brother did it. He surprised me with this. He submitted my name, in a hat, and they only had 4 screens that weekend to honor veterans. I was one of those 3 or 4, I think it was. Anyways, they recognized me, so which is great. So I have some photos I'm going to insert here so people can see that, and they put my name on the side of the building and everything, recognizing me for my military service. So that was kind of fun, and it was all downhill after that.
So I have a shark.
So
yeah,
and unfortunately, and I didn't realize this until this morning, that was the only feature I saw in the box offices in the theaters this summer. That was the only film I saw.
You're talking about, I just, in case people are watching this, like, archive footage in the year 2028 or whatever, well, David and I are giving a look because this is the Barbenheimer summer, right?
Yes,
the one you're talking about.
I know.
Okay. The
I know
when movies are back.
I know, and I'm really, and I walked away with this fancy little mug, by the way, as well as a gift basket too. But anyways, but
I went to the Indiana Jones premiere, and all I got was this stinking mug.
Well, my family, my wife was there. She got to see it for free. My parents went. My brother, my brother Conrad, and then my other brother Anthony, they came as well. And my niece came along too. It was good, and they all paid for it. They had some props from the movies. It was a really fun experience. Aside from the movie, unfortunately. but anyways, I missed out on Mission Impossible. I missed out on
Everyone
Oppenheimer.
did.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Oh no. Yeah.
I missed Mission Impossible.
But I'm incredibly disappointed that I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, at least. So
it's great.
Yeah.
It's so good that it's almost as good as Barbie.
Yeah. I'm just really, and I guess with Oppenheimer, and then we'll kind of get going here. Like, I really wanted to see that in IMAX, even though people were saying maybe it wasn't exactly an IMAX film per se.
Oppenheimer.
But, yeah, I haven't seen it, so I can't say for sure. I mean, if you guys saw it, you guys might be able to push back on that. But
there wasn't a lot of car chases. If that's what you mean. But
not a whole lot of action necessarily. Not like, I mean, like for example, Dunkirk, right? He straps that IMAX camera on the side of a plane, and he's like filming like that, which is pretty extraordinary, pretty amazing, right? You have like moments like that, which are like, wow, this is a really fun to watch. But anyways, I missed out on all of that, so. Oh my goodness, I have some work to do.
It's all going to streaming.
It is.
You can catch up.
It is. And I those are one of the movies that you really want to put money towards the theaters, so that way people can we can encourage more movies like that. So, anyways, guys, today we are going to be watching a really fun B movie.
Dial of Destiny.
I want notice. That's
although that you said fun, so I know it's not Dial of Destiny.
Hey,
yeah. Hold on? Did either of you see Dial of Destiny, or am I the only one on this? Okay,
yeah, so.
I hated every second of it.
Oh my goodness, it was rough.
It was rough.
What did you think, Mark?
I thought it was pretty fine. I thought it was like a fine action adventure movie. I think the like de-aging stuff is awful and takes you out of it.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
But I like Phoebe Waller-Bridge a lot. I thought it was silly. Like, I think if it didn't have the Indiana Jones name attached to it, it was to me, it was a lot like the Robert Downey Jr. Jude Law Sherlock Holmes. That that character is not Sherlock Holmes. It's just some different guy around the turn of a century who has adventures in London. And like, if you watch it and just take the name Sherlock Holmes away, it's kind of fun, but like if you're overly attached to like the name Indiana Jones, you're going to be like, what is this? Why is this?
You have a very specific idea of what to expect for sure.
Right. Exactly. You know, so like I had fun, but we could talk about this at a later time. I'm actually a fairly big defender of Crystal Skull.
Wow.
I mean, it has Crystal Skull has like 2 to 3 scenes that are awful. But like, I think the rest of it is very, very good. So my opinion ending. Probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I liked how it wrapped everything up. It was a good send off for like the indie store. Like, we didn't need Dial of Destiny. But...
Yeah, it was a good send off for the next 13 years before they make the next one.
But don't worry, he's an alcoholic now and a sad old man. Thanks, Disney. We had to deconstruct Indiana Jones.
I just felt like they really tried too hard in too many different ways to make Dial of Destiny happen. You know what I mean? Like the things that I really appreciate. And I watched this and I thought about this when I watched Last Crusade. Like, what's so funny about Last Crusade is the opening scene. You can compare the opening scene to Dial of Destiny, because it starts off with young Indiana Jones. He's on the train, right? They both have train sequences, and they both hit very differently, for very different reasons. And it just, there's something really authentic and just really exciting about the train scene in The Last Crusade versus Dial of Destiny, where it's like, this is like, oh my gosh, again, like I wasn't buying the whole Harrison Ford action stuff personally. It just fell flat for me.
And I think the practical effects portion plays a lot too. That it's like that first sequence, which would be awesome if it were A, appropriately aged actor, and B, even remotely resembled being on an actual train. I think that would have changed a lot.
Yeah.
That just hit more. It was it was like the Polar Express that first scene. You know what I mean? Like it just,
and of course
working for me.
And of course, like it doesn't work. And then he starts talking. And you're like, oh, it's just 72-year-old Harrison Ford.
Exactly.
Like, didn't change his voice at all.
Or his frame. Or his frame. His shoulders are all pointed out like this. And then when he puts the jacket on, it's like a little kid putting on a giant jacket. It's just like, not working for me. But
can't wear this. I look like I'm 16.
Michael?
Anyways, okay. So where this is going, folks. So everyone's like, okay, so why are we talking about all this stuff? Okay, so I tasked David and Mark to watch 2 movies ahead of this screening, and so we talked about. I told them to watch King Solomon's Mines as well as Raiders of the Lost Ark. So who wants to give the elevator pitch on Raiders of the Lost Ark? Excuse me.
A long time ago in a galaxy. Wrong movie.
same people, basically. Yeah.
I think the big thing with Indiana Jones, here's my elevator pitch on Indiana Jones. I used to work at a video store in LA. In case you care about it, it's Vidiot's. It was like one of the last video stores standing, kind of has a rep out there. And there was this old story of someone who came into the video store, and he had recently immigrated to the US. And he said, oh, you have movies. I've heard about movies. I've heard they're really great. What should I do? Right. And so it became this question among all of the, like a cocktail party question among all of the employees there of like, somebody comes in, fully grown adult, fully like grown human, understands everything, just has never seen a movie before. What do you recommend as a clerk? Right. It's like, and we talked about it a lot. We talked about Wizard of Oz, talked about like Lawrence of Arabia, because it needs to be something that's big. It needs to be something that encapsulates. But after hours and hours and hours of arguing, we all settled on it's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah,
that's the first movie that someone should see. That encompasses all of the aspects of moviedom. It's funny. It's got just enough character development that you attach to these characters, but also fill in gaps for yourself. It moves from one place to another. It tells you what it's about, but is never boring. It's just like everything you want a movie to be encapsulated, And I think that's my elevator pitch for Raiders of the Lost Ark, is that literally all of us decided that the first movie anyone should see if they've never seen a movie before is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It's like a really nice common denominator, because it's almost an easy icebreaker for just about anyone. You could talk about it and almost anyone can pick up on it and have a nice conversation about it. And there's so much about that's wrapped up in the film, whether it's the story or the making of it, who's involved, what happened to their careers as a result of the movie. And I think just the way it's sort of changed Hollywood from a cultural perspective, and just the way it redefined films in general. It's just, and it's parodied, it's referenced. I mean, I used a little bit from The Critic in the last episode I had here, which again, it's iconic to say the least. And there are so many different iconic and memorable moments from that film alone. Never mind Temple of Doom or Last Crusade, both great for different reasons, obviously. But Raiders of the Lost Ark is definitely something that is worthwhile seeing. You definitely have to see if you haven't seen already. David, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what would you like to share about Raiders?
I can't match Mark's story with the whole movie store, so whatever I say is irrelevant now.
Okay,
that was perfect.
So let's say this. So David, so the other film we watched was King Solomon's Mines. So how would you describe that movie? What was your take on it? Did you enjoy it?
All right, Oh, look, camera freeze. Perfect.
Yeah.
Time. All right. I was not prepared for the opening scene.
Oh my God.
Holy crap. You set us up to fail.
Yeah.
Talk about immediate trauma.
Explain, David. Explain for people
the
who are uninitiated.
The movie opens on a hunting party shooting elephants in Africa.
And it's real.
That was my question. Was that real?
I tried looking this up.
Just poor elephants get shot.
Yeah, I looked this up. I'd love to have a discussion about this briefly. So, I did.
That's the movie to me. I was after that. It was downhill I was like, I can't pay attention to anything else. I'm out.
It was a quick cursory. I did a quick cursory search on this, and I found some conflicting information. I saw no. It was so that was real. The scene where the elephant gets shot is 100% real. The question is whether or not that was done deliberately for the movie, or if it was just stock footage that they had that just inserted into the film.
What I had read, which and I'm not an authority on this or whatever, but what I had read is it was the latter. Yeah. That there was a whole crew that had come out separately from the production that was just shooting all of this gorgeous safari shots and all B-reels stuff, and they saw game hunters, and they it's not like I have heard that that crew did not pay those game hunters to hunt those elephants, that was happening anyway, and they captured it. I don't know. I don't know if y'all have seen that film Wake and Fright. It's like a pretty famous indie Australian film, but it's incredible. Wake and Fright is wonderful, except in the middle they go kangaroo hunting, and they're just like all drunk and they're going in the bush and they're shooting kangaroos, and it's all documentary footage of kangaroos just actually getting shot. And the Australian government was like, yes, here's a bunch of documentary footage we have shot of kangaroos getting poached. Please use this for your movie. A, because it's gross, it works for your film, but B, it will stop people from illegally poaching kangaroo because it's so awful. Right. And so I don't think that was necessarily the intent of King Solomon's Mine, shot in 1949, where nobody really gave shit about an elephant. No. But it certainly had that effect on me.
Yes. I was, I think across the board, all three of us were completely unprepared for what we were about to see. I mean, it's like we're talking. This is 83 years after the fact, roughly.
Look, they got the Blu-ray version. It's all upscale. Oh my God!
Yeah, for sure. Okay, but how would you summarize the plot of the film, or just aside from the elephant getting shot, David? So, what's your biggest takeaway? How would you describe the film? What do you think about it? What's like your elevator pitch on it?
Well, so here you got another adventure film, kind of mystery almost in a couple of ways, but it's a little old-fashioned, high budget production on location film.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of talking. There's going to be a lot of walking around scenes. There's going to be a lot of walking around the same sets. And you're going to hear that old style accent popping through. It's go watch Indiana Jones instead. You got three really good ones there. You could get through. But this is this is one of those classic films. Yes. I was watching it. I was picking up a lot of Werner Herzog kind of style. That's what I was feeling while I was watching it.
Yeah. So what's really interesting about this film is in watching it, again, I was totally blown away by, that opening safari scene. Right. But also in researching this film, I didn't realize what we had stumbled upon from a cultural perspective with this movie for several different reasons. I didn't realize that this film was this actually was inspiration for Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones, the whole series. But then there's a couple other big things about it, and feel free to add on anything you guys know. But in 1951, it was nominated for Best Picture. 1950, it was the second highest grossing film of that year, only second to, I believe it was, I had it right here in front of me, Cinderella. This film brought in $15 million, total in box office. It was 11 million in 1950, and Cinderella brought in like 52 million in comparison. It just blew things away. I think just because of the wider audience, that the wider appeal that it had, just being an animated film. You know, it's not elephants aren't getting shot in the first scene of the movie. but again, like and not to mention the main protagonist, Alan Quartermain, that has been, I guess, reused several different times over the past century. There was actually, I didn't realize this until I told you guys, hey, let's watch the 1950s one. There was actually a 1937 King Solomon's Mine, which I had no idea, and then it's based on the book.
And a lost 1919 one as well.
I didn't know about that one.
It doesn't exist anymore, but it was made. It's
interesting. I didn't know that. And then we have later on, fast forward to early 2000s with the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Sean Connery plays Alan Quartermain in that film. And then fast forward after that to 2004, there's a King Solomon's Mine with Patrick Swayze, and where he plays Alan Quartermain. So again, like this has been coming up again and again and again. And I actually wanted to share this really funny article with you guys. I really enjoyed reading this. Give me just a sec here. Mark, is there something else you wanted to add, or is that just a little bit that you wanted to?
No, I think the influence is great. I wanted to, I could talk a little about that. To me, that movie was like the era of travel logs when people didn't have high definition footage of places they couldn't go. That like in a lot of ways, King Solomon's Mine was like a travel documentary,
right?
Like they just had gorgeous shots of this, and then they just cut to people walking for 20 minutes, and then you'd see like more gorgeous giraffes running, which is like still really cool. My wife and I were watching it, being like, "Ooh, this is neat." I don't really care.
Oh, you watched it? Oh, she watched it as well.
Oh yeah. I rarely watch things without her at this point. It's just
that's cool. I'm usually watching these in the wee hours of the evening. So, but anyways, so I pulled this article from the Raider.net, and this is probably just really appropriate for what we're describing and what we're about to get in here today. So, one of the things I wanted to point out here was which paragraph was it? So there have been 3 attempts to take the story written by H.R. Rider Haggard entitled King Solomon's Mine to put it on the silver screen. Arguably the best and most influential version of the story is one starring Stuart Granger and Deborah Kerr from 1950, which is the one we watched. Yes, there was one in 1985 starring Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone, but that one was literally a ripoff of Indiana Jones and is best left forgotten. So, guys, anyone want to take a stab at what we're going to be watching today?
Oh my god,
are we doing it?
We are 100%. Yeah, we're 100% going to be watching the 1985 King Solomon's Mines.
I literally rewatched the documentary on Canon Films this week in preparation for this. I was hoping this is what it was.
Oh my gosh, you were sending me messages on X, formerly known as Twitter. And I was like ignoring what you were saying because I was like, I don't want to give it away. I don't want to tip my hand at all. By any means. Yeah. So we were watching the 1985 King Solomon's Mines with Richard Chamberlain, as well as Sharon Stone is in this film as well, which is kind of exciting. And yeah, this is going to be a bit of easy for more reasons than one. But I, for one, am pretty excited. Guys, what are your thoughts?
Let it roll.
Yeah, let me pull up the trailer real quick to get us peek here. Give me just a moment. I tried so hard not to. I think that the dead giveaway is, hey, watch the 1950s version of King Solomon's Mine. Don't pay attention to the other one.
Pay no attention to Sharon Stone in the 80s.
Does Joey Fatone make an appearance in this one?
Yeah, he's the snake. He's the giant snake.
Yeah. Okay. Bear with me just a second. There's an ad playing over here.
Not the ads.
Yeah. Okay. And unfortunately, the only version of King Solomon's Mine that I could find was a free version with ads. So we will be enjoying.
That's fine.
I figured
during all the ad breaks, I'll just tell various tidbits about Canon Films.
Yeah,
it'll be great.
All right, let's go, guys. How's the volume? There's no volume yet, but
a little loud, but we're fine. We're all good. We're all good.
Greatest legend of all time.
It is not so much to say, Mr. Potterley.
About the greatest treasure known to man.
Sounds like Peter Cullen.
Is about
Whoa.
to be pursued by the boldest, most daring hero ever to seek the thrill of adventure. Richard Chamberlain is Alan Quatermain in King Solomon's Mines, joined by an unlikely soldier of fortune.
It is. That's Optimus Prime doing the voiceover.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I just looked it up. Yeah, it's confirmed.
That's amazing.
Great reflexes, boys.
Oh my God.
Their only hope in the hands of the enemy.
I will have only 2 words to say to you. Talk or die. That's 3 words. Huh?
I want to scream!
Oh my God.
A mythical trail to the forbidden. Impenetrable. Inescapable. King Solomon's Mines. Join Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone for the adventure of a lifetime.
I've got it!
King Solomon's Mines.
All right.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
I'm pumped. I don't know about you guys. I'm pretty pumped about this. All right, guys. Any last words before we any last words, Mr. Bond?
Can Optimus Prime narrate the whole time?
That was a little fun little reveal you had there. I that's pretty awesome.
I recognize that voice instantly now.
Well, and it's funny because I've certainly heard that voice in trailers before, but I've never connected it. Like, it's ridiculous that I haven't. Quite frankly, well done.
Yeah. I have a feeling. What do you guys think? Do you think this is actually going to be somewhat entertaining compared to some of the other films? Like, what do you think? Like, I was a little disappointed by. I think the most boring ones we've seen so far, I think, were Top Gunner and then Velocipaster to date. Like,
Velocipaster is a 20 minutes good, and then after 20 minutes, it drops off.
Yeah.
Top Gunner is a legendary film that should be revered.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, I think this is going to be the opposite of Velocipaster. You know, we talked a lot in the Velocipaster episode about how they were taking a lot of care to try and purposely make something bad. And
yes,
the entire canon Golden Globus output is the opposite of that. They love movies so much that they never want to slow down and like actually try. So they're just like, put out another movie. They were releasing like 45 movies a year. And so like this movie is going to be so earnest. It's like, and it's draft one, and they're just going draft one on the effects, draft one on the script, draft one. They're just like, go. And so it's going to be the opposite, I think, of Velocipaster in a lot of ways.
Wow. This is going to be great. I'm pumped, guys. I'm actually pretty pumped at this point. So, all right. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pull up King Solomon's Mine. With occasional ads. Wow. That was quite the journey.
Yeah, it was. I haven't watched that movie in, I don't know, like 20 years or so, you know?
Oh, so you have seen this movie before?
I have seen an embarrassing amount of canon output, you know, from 80 to 89 or whatever.
Wow. Well, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. Was okay. Before we get to that though, so okay. So who wants to summarize the plot of King Solomon's Mines, 1985?
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, a budget was crafted large enough to put people on location to film an adventure film in the style of Raiders of the Lost Ark that could directly compete with George Lucas himself and Steven Spielberg. And that movie was King Solomon's Mine. Why take anything and create anything original when you could just replicate what was done in the 1950s and before that? And so we find ourselves here in Africa. And that's the film.
Between the breasts of Sheba.
Between the breasts of Sheba.
This is a map? Yes. You see, the belly is the plain of Naluk, leading to the twin mountain peaks, the breasts of Sheba.
Dead Rupert, the map. This proves my father was here.
God. Oh, Jesus.
You can't make that up.
No,
you can't make this up.
Africa, the movie.
Yeah.
Go see it. Coming to a YouTube near you.
So something that I thought of with these movies, I noticed this especially because I watched Raiders last night, and I watched it probably the first time in a while. And one of the major differences between the 1950s King Solomon Mines and Raiders, and kind of but not really, is that the Raiders is very MacGuffin centric, whereas King Solomon's Mines was focused on it's a character story. You know, it's that's what that was. King Solomon's Mines was just kind of a background feature. It was just they didn't really elaborate into that too much, and it's more of a journey of two people going in there and trying to, you know, Elizabeth Curtis is trying to find her husband who's gone missing. And then he has his own story where he's basically wanting to get out of the business that he's in of leading people on safaris and whatnot. And again, like that's so different. I mean, these three movies are completely different, obviously. And it's almost like unrecognizable between the 1985 King Solomon's Mines with this one. It just there's none of that character drama at all. Like you have no idea who these people are. You barely know, you know, Quatermain is like, you know, I guess he's in his world, right? He's in his element. And that's, you don't even know what he does for a living. You know, it's just like, they don't really go into that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because like, you know, the MacGuffin is, you know, exists. Like the MacGuffin is the mines, you know, like it's the excuse to go on these things. But like in the 1950s one, you barely cared about the mines at all. They like, they don't give it, you know, the mines are nothing. And I was missing that a lot. I think one of my favorite scenes from the 1950 was that like original discussion with Quatermain, you know, and them hiring Quatermain to go.
Yeah.
And talking about like why he didn't want to go and what the terrain is like and what to expect. And, you know, it really set up all of that, all of the walking 20 minutes at a time for the rest of the movie very well.
I assure you, you have absolutely no idea of the dangers of such a trip. Neither have I.
And this was just, hey, you know Indiana Jones. You've seen it. Yeah, you get this guy.
We're discussing your father and a very special map.
My table!
Please, there's no need.
You get it. You know,
it's totally relying on that. And what's really interesting is that, that kind of works in some ways, and only by happenstance, really, because of the success of Indiana Jones. You know, if Raiders wasn't successful, this movie would not work by any means at all. Like if for whatever reason, you know, people would like turned on Raiders like in 1984, 85, you know, they would not have been able to make this movie, or at least it would not have been as received as it probably was. You know,
in this movie's defense, if Raiders didn't work, this movie would not exist.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, like this movie was just like that worked. All right, let's do it. We've got this, you know.
Let's try spinning. That's a good trick. Now this is pod racing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there really is very little through line between the movie, the 1950s movie that we watched, and this. I mean, one of the biggest differences for me was that I loved Quartermain's character, of just like kind of this expert who did things. You know, they hired him because he knew what he was doing. He could talk to the locals. He knew the customs. He understood how the animals packed and what they did and what to do. He did nothing heroic, you know? I mean, outside of the normal purview of what he did, which was, I thought that was refreshing and neat, because that's something you don't see in adventure films anymore.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
You hire Matthew McConaughey in Sahara, and he's gonna like fly a plane on a sea of sand or whatever, you know, like there's gonna be all of that stuff. And obviously, you know, that played no part in this version. He was pole vaulting through lava.
What?
Okay.
Surprised that pole supported him in across the pit of lava.
Yeah, I'm glad it hit the bottom of the lava pit, I suppose. You know, he was, you know, like, you know, it was punching a bunch of Nazis, which, you know, whatever. I mean, yeah, I'm never gonna poo-poo punching Nazis or whatever. It was effective. Moving the timeline up 40 years was nice, you know.
Yeah, for sure. David, what are your thoughts?
It was about 40 minutes too long, but then it would have been about an hour. But the movie never takes a minute to say, here's what we're doing and here's why we're doing it. It's like, let's just go as fast as we can. Action. People want action now. This needs more volume usage. Just, you know, cloudy backgrounds, set the ambience.
Oh, that sort of volume. Okay.
Yeah. Don't you see those other movies? We're also going to like, just everything that you think of when you think of Africa. Let's just make it that. And it's like dangerous, and there's cannibals, and
everybody's a cannibal.
I hope they choke on us.
Oh.
Not exactly my choice for a last meal.
Everyone's a cannibal.
Everyone's a cannibal.
There's either cannibals or Nazis in Africa. That's what's in Africa, and they're all right next to each other. They're all on top of each other, and then in the end, it's just, now the cannibals are friendly, and they're gonna let you leave. We're cool now. What was the motivation for going after I feel like they just happened to accidentally discover the mine, running both to and from the Nazis the whole time, or running to and from the cannibals. This movie is, but that's the problem, is because you can't focus on it. It's boring. It's because you don't know why are we doing this? Why are we here? I can't root for you when I don't know why you're here.
It's the idiocracy thing, right? Like, I want to know whose butt it is and why it's farting, right? Like, that's like, I need to know that critical information. That's a really good observation about it, and it's so true of how canon has always made movies. It's like the Michael Bay in that Man Bear Pig episode of South Park. You know, he's like, and then it goes boom, and then he goes over there, goes boom, you know, and like that's, you know, what does he say? He's like, that's not a movie, those are action sequences. You know, like that's not and that was absolutely what they were doing.
Now we're on the train. Now we're in the plane. Now we're in the pot with the lions. We have to do the softcore makeout scene. Okay, we got that. Now let's go in the caves. No, there's more cannibals in the caves. There's a volcano in the caves. There's a hippopotamus. Volcano. The ceiling's coming down. It's flooded. It's the toilet flushing.
That was part of. You go ahead, Mark.
No, that part about the hippopotamus just really got me, because we had already seen the thing happen once. And then this time they're just like, oh, but this time there's a hippopotamus, I think. I don't know, is a dragon, whatever.
Totally ambiguous, totally confusing. Yeah. Oh boy, this film. Oh my goodness. But yes, so it's just nonstop action, and this basically just sets it up. It's like it makes you kind of think that maybe Michael Bay was influenced by this film. You know what I mean? No, seriously, because of all the action, just nonstop action, and I know like one of the things you remarked earlier, Mark, was about the green screen. I will say this though, it was used sparingly. At times, there's some times where it's unnecessary. It's like, okay, like the part where in the open field with John Rhys Davies and he's like,
sure, yeah,
like behind him, it's just like you couldn't have just shot that film on location, right there.
Yeah, that's pickup dialogue or whatever.
It is
like they did that because they couldn't get it on set.
Of course.
But yeah, but you're right. They only really used it with the train sequence when he was like riding on the train and trying to surf and pull himself up, and then the alligators. And the alligators, I didn't remember if there was another part, but you're right. It was used pretty sparingly. It didn't feel like one of the things with the Marvel films or whatever, the volume films, is that you just feel like every other shot is an effect shot, and it's very obvious.
And it just takes you out of it altogether.
Yeah.
And the stunts were pretty compelling in this film.
I
thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, again, but not much substance to the film at all. I mean, there's just so much that was lacking from that perspective. And like, I think like Mbopa was even lesser of a character than he was in the 1950s film, which was lesser than of a character from the novel. It's like this they've totally reduced his role over time.
The thing that really got me about Mbopa in this film is they are never helping him. They're constantly ditching him. More dynamite?
Mbopa. That was one hell of an entrance.
Yeah. Holy mackerel, we ditched him back in Ghana or whatever.
Yeah.
How'd he get here? They're like, oh, we're going to jump on this train now. F you, Mbopo. And then they leave. And then 20 minutes later, Mbopo's on the top of the train and he helps them out and saves them. And then they're like, oh, we got to go through this thing. Oh, F you, Mbopo. And then they just leave him. And then he just shows up another half hour later. You can't get rid of this guy. But
Mbopo's
that's
not invited to the pot boiling.
Yeah. Where was he that whole time? Where was he? Who knows?
Not invited.
Yeah. They didn't do a good job of explaining that. And like, even though there's, I mean, to your previous point about there being criticism about Mbopa and a lesser role in the film, he actually has something of a substantive role in the 1950s film, which I thought was good. And I think
it was and ice cream.
Like part of me wonders is that like the backstory with Quartermain and his son, how he's getting the money, right? The $5,000. Part of the reason why he's doing it. He says he's doing it for his son, but it almost seems like he's going on a one-way trip. I almost want to think that he's kind of doing that like subconsciously, like almost thinking about his son, supporting someone else's son, to fulfill their, a major obligation in their life, in his instance, being a tribal leader at the very end, which that intense thing.
I think you're absolutely right. I think I have not read the novel, but I can't imagine that not being one of the threads of the novel. Yeah, as a payoff, because he wants to see his son. So much of it is about Quartermain seeing his son, and and he doesn't in the books. Like it doesn't happen.
Something I thought about when I was watching Raiders is that I don't know what, like, I guess I wasn't paying too much attention to this before, but like Marion Ravenwood's character, she's very much like rough around the edges for a chick, in more ways than one. Not just the drinking, but like there's this scene where she like gets food. I mean, and she sees Belloc, right? And she, finally is eating. I mean, she probably could have been doing this just because she hasn't been eating in a while, but she's like stuffing her face and talking as she's eating, right? And it just kind of comes off as, and again, like as I said, rough around the edges, but that makes her almost a perfect pair with Indy, who's also rough around the edges. And you can kind of see that here in this role, where she's kind of like a mix between Kate Capshaw's character, Willie, and Marion Ravenwood, because Marion's father is Abner Ravenwood, who's the guy who's like the expert who knows all about the Ark of the Covenant, whereas her father, Miss Houston, I'm trying to remember her first name. Her dad is like the leading expert on King Solomon's mines, which again, they don't go into the relevance of that. It's like driving the story. It's like, why are we motivated to go there? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just not digging it.
I think you're right that like situationally her character is set up like Marion Ravenwood, but she behaves like Kate Capshaw. Yeah.
Definitely a cross between the two.
I guess this is the right time to bring this one up. So nobody on set really liked Sharon Stone. The people they were shooting with, for whatever reason, whatever. I don't know why, and then the dailies first come back from Africa. They've been shooting for a couple weeks, and they get the dailies back in LA. And Menachem Golan, who had wanted to make this movie, in casting, he was like, "Get the Stone Woman. I want the Stone Woman. Get her." And so everyone's like, "Oh, okay, like you Sharon Stone, all right." So they cast Sharon Stone. They fly her to Africa. They start shooting with her. The footage comes back, and Menachem's like, "Who the hell is this? I don't like her. What's going on?"
Now this is pod racing.
And it wound up that he meant, Menachem is Israeli, and English isn't his first language, and he also talks really quick and then doesn't answer follow-up questions. And he meant Kathleen Turner from Romancing the Stone. And since no one asked any follow-up questions, they just cast the wrong person, hired her, contracted her, flew her out, and then like 3 weeks in, they're like, "I guess we got Sharon Stone now instead." So,
oh my goodness, wow.
Yeah. So that's how canon rolls, man. You just gotta go with it.
Going 100 miles an hour. Oh man, that's hilarious. And how
lesson learned: ask questions.
Yeah,
it's no hassle. But all I'm saying, they're gonna get away. I'm just. Knock. Who's there?
Yeah. Ask follow-up.
Ask follow-up questions, folks.
Which stone woman?
Yeah.
This is a woman made of stone.
First name, last name, like
yeah.
He sounds like he might have been an unapproachable person, where he needs something now and you don't ask questions. That would be my assumption why people don't ask questions in situations like that. Wow, that's it's fascinating.
There's a very famous story that they tell in the documentary, which you guys should watch. You should watch it. It's called Electric Boogaloo, and it's the story of Canon Films. And when Menachem was in Israel and he was a director and a producer and making movies, his wife and their newborn child kind of went to set to visit him, and he was shooting this this scene where there's a runaway horse. And he goes, wait. And he grabs the baby and puts it in a basket and puts it on the carriage of the runaway horse. And they just start shooting. And like, you can see that the carriage running and the horse cart running, and the baby's like bouncing inside of this horse cart. And the wife like goes to like try and grab it. And he just stops her and goes, "Never get in the shot."
What do I do?
Yes?
What do I do?
Nothing, dear. You're not qualified.
And so, like, that is Menachem Golan. That is Canon Films. It's just like, just throw it out there. We'll get it done.
To that point though, it really makes me wonder about the choices for some of the stunts too. Because I was asking, like, at one point where he's hanging upside down above the alligator pit. I'm like, did they actually take safety? It looked like a dude, very much looked like a dude. Did they actually do? I mean, like, it's 1985. Maybe the safety rules on set at the time are not what they are today, by no means. But like, my goodness, like, I was just wondering, like, holy shit, is that someone? Is someone gonna die? That's like high risk. And then like the other observation you made with the motorcycle with sidecar, when it made that jump, that stunt looked like a little too real.
I almost didn't want to watch it back. Like, I liked the idea that it, like, you know, that it was a dummy, which I thought it was a dummy in the sidecar, but then there were some movements after that person's neck was broken, you know, that, like, but that's part and parcel with liking 80s and 70s B films. You know, you just have to deal with sometimes you're like, oh, that stuntman just died. Okay,
but even in Raiders though, well, hold on, but even in Raiders though, I'm sure this is not the only like major film like this that's had something like this. But there's the part where Indy gets on the horse to go chase after the Ark of the Covenant, and as he's riding through the camp, he runs through one of the guys, one of the locals in the camp. He gets in the way of the horse, and you can see him clearly get trampled by the horse.
Really?
Yeah, like that. Harrison is riding. It's like and you can see people like move in like to the guy to go see if he's okay. And I would hope that some people were really considerate to that that poor extra got in the way of the horse for that amazing shot.
Often what happens in stuntman culture too is like if they're okay, like you'll go and visit them in the hospital. You hear countless stories like this. You go and visit them in the hospital and they're like, did we get the shot? Does it look good? You know, and they're like sitting there with like 2 broken arms and like you know, and they're like, great, if it looks great, use it, you know. I don't know. Stuntmen are a different breed than me, man.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Like I remember hearing I remember going to a screening for Lone Survivor back when it came out, and went to the Universal lot basically to go see this, and they had like a Q&A with some of the folks doing the stunts, and they did like, man, there's that part in the movie where they're rolling down the side of the mountain, and then the like 30 days straight basically of getting all those shots. It's just like there's something in your brain to want to be a stuntman. It's you have it's the word that comes to mind. It's just so funny because this is kind of like a fun little segue from the previous conversation, that movie you shared with us, Mark, where the guy William Greaves was filming.
Oh yeah.
So there's the word toxoplasmosis. Are you familiar?
Yeah, it's like it's like
So basically, I think cats are susceptible to toxoplasmosis, and it's because it can be if you're just exposed to cat urine. And so what it does is it makes you less prone to taking risks. And so that's how they discovered it, because rats would come encounter this cat urine that had like toxoplasmosis, and they would get scooped up by rats, coincidentally. So, and humans can get that. So
yeah, that's why pregnant women are supposed to not clean up cat litter.
Oh, interesting.
There you go. That's because they're immunocompromised or more than a person who isn't pregnant, so it's easier for them to get toxoplasma.
Yeah,
in their
toxoplasma.
Brains.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah, there you go, man. They have done studies. I know we're not getting into toxoplasma here, but like there have been studies that a higher percentage, and like statistically significant higher percentage of people who have toxoplasma or have toxoplasmosis are entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because they're risk takers. They're less afraid of things. It's very interesting. So Anyway.
Yeah. There's one funny there's one thing I observed last night while watching Raiders last night, and that was I don't know how I didn't realize this, but there's that part in the movie where Indy's he's having that meeting with Belloc after Marion dies, and then it's this really intense moment, and then right as he's about to pull out his guns, all the other guys have their guns as well, but then all these kids come in to save him. Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute. Sala just set these kids in there to go save Indy. He just risked the lives of these children to go save Indy. It's just like using children as a means of protecting Indy. I'm like, that's kind of a heartless move on his part.
I would find you there. Better than the United States Marines, eh?
It worked. He knew that even the Germans have hearts. Or not Germans, Belloc. Belloc does. The French.
Yeah. Not like these guys in this film. John Rhys Davies, he was the Turkish guy. I didn't capture very many names in this film.
He's Gimli.
Gimli.
Gimli. Yeah.
Turkish Gimli.
Yeah.
And then the colonel, the German colonel. Yeah. But the visuals are kind of cool though. I mean, to David's point, the sets were fun. Yeah.
Oh, hi. Pardon me 1 second.
No worries.
Oh, hey, what's up, little one? Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
I'm streaming right now, Bug. So can you come back a little later? Can you give me a kiss? Okay. Bye.
Speaking of children coming in.
Yeah. You saved me. You're Belloc in the situation. So I'll just send my kid in. So I wanted to bring up something here that, the version. So since I've seen, you assigned us to watch Raiders, and I've probably seen Raiders 90 times. So instead of watching Raiders, I watched Steven Soderbergh's version of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Have you all heard of this?
No.
I'll send you the link, and we should put the link in the show notes. But about 10 years ago, Steven Soderbergh made a black and white silent film version of Raiders. It's just Raiders, but stripped of all sound and of all color.
Interesting.
And he did it as kind of, he wrote his blog on his blog. You can find out. He wrote about it, about how it's a study. It's meant to be educational, in a study of staging and the idea of how you stage shot to shot, how your movie flows. And so the idea is, he's like, I think this movie is just so perfect with staging in the way that Spielberg leads you from each shot to the next. And you can look at the shots and figure out, he's like, and the story plays perfectly without dialogue, without sound, without color.
Yeah.
The story plays because of how well Spielberg stages each shot. So the pacing through, the cinematography, the mise en scène, the editing all together work. And so I reread that blog post kind of talking about that. And it's so funny and perfect because of how poorly staged this movie is. You know what I mean? Like that. And in the end, that's the big difference, is that you watch a scene and just why it is cutting from shot to shot. You have no idea. Why is it cutting back to this? Wait, why did it cut away in the first place? Where am I now? And they just don't do that. And so that's a lot of that boringness that comes in. Not only is the fact that we don't have any reason to care about these butts or why they're farting, right? But also because the whole pacing itself doesn't set you up for what's coming next. And so you're not anticipating anything. You're just waiting for it to hit you in the face because you can't figure out where the story's going next.
There are definitely some jarring moments. Yeah, there's definitely some jarring moments along the way. And for example, the part where he's fighting the dude under the train, and they cut away so much. It's just a little nauseating. It's that's a little too much. We get what's going on. Just summarize here a little bit, but
there's a lot of cuts in this movie.
Yeah.
Cut,
and meaningless cuts. Yeah, meaningless cuts. Why?
It's to increase action. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the action fast paced. There's action. We're doing action, guys. The whole thing is just cuts in action.
Yeah,
but two things happen there. First, and the first one makes me think of Godzilla. Everybody thinks I want Godzilla. I'm wearing Godzilla. I just coincidence. Just wearing Godzilla.
That, yeah.
Everybody thinks they want a 2-hour Godzilla fight movie, but that's gonna get old quick. And this movie that gets old quick.
Yeah.
When the fighting is meaningless, it's just meaningless fighting. But then on top of that, these characters, there's no you don't take the threat of the bad guys seriously. They're not in Raiders. They're scary. They're Nazis. You take them seriously. Indy is cool, and he has he keeps the scene. There's tension. There's tension with the characters. Here, they're cracking jokes. The bad guys are cracking jokes. There's no seriousness behind them. It's they're goofy villains.
There, I will have only 2 words to say to you: talk or die.
That's 3 words.
But then they're not, and it's then there's the guy's taking his pants off a second later. It's wait, what are we doing here? you know, the tone of the characters doesn't match. So you don't. So then none of it's important. So you know, then it's just.
Yeah, there's just it's you're performing a task, and by watching this movie, you're trying to go along on a journey. And in this instance, you don't know why you're going on this journey. You don't know what's going on. What's the major payoff? We talk about payoffs, right? What's the major payoff at the end? And it's very unsatisfactory. Unlike, you know, the original King Solomon, not the original, but 1950s King Solomon Mine, and then Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know what you're getting into. You know what the expected outcome is going to be, and so you're paying attention to what's going to happen along the way. Whereas this is just like a whole bunch of gobbledygook, just kind of like thrown in there.
What was the movie that we watched that was like Pacific Rim?
Atlantic Rim.
Atlantic Rim.
At least that had. Really funny. I forgot that. all I remember, like, really is the robot fight scene at the end, which is like goofy. But at least it has like a narrative you can follow with characters that are pursuing like there's still a plot to give a crap about. Here there isn't.
The only thing I remember about King Solomon's Mines that they talk about in this movie, and I'm saying remember as in I just watched it 20 minutes ago. The only thing they talk about is whether or not it exists. I do not remember any discussion on what it contained, what's important about it, what it is. Yes, the only dialogue I remember is, "Oh no, it's just a myth." Okay, well, but what is the myth?
There's hundreds of
Can
fake
I
maps.
hear the myth? Yeah,
Why?
right, exactly. Why? What are those mats? Yeah,
The myth is the boobs on the statue. Yeah. The myth is Richard Chamberlain coming through the ceiling, landing square in the middle of the room, just like
Oh my God, that I gotta say that I thank you for reminding me of that, because I am going to remember that moment, because that is the incompetence of pacing, the incompetence of expectation, the incompetence of like designing a scene, because you have no idea that he is going to do that. You're not building intention leading up to it. It just happens. And you're like, why? What?
My table.
You know, and that
because we needed it to happen.
Yeah,
because there had to be a scene of the hero falling through the ceiling, crashing into the scene. My table.
My door.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, my door.
Oh my God.
My door. Speaking of apparel that we coincidentally wore today, I did not even realize, I did not think about it, that my hat choice is correct, because this is, if anyone is already in the comments typing it, and you got your firsties in, but this is Sylvester Stallone's hat from Over the Top.
Nice.
The movie where he arm wrestles for custody of his child. And this is one of the biggest budget canon movies ever. It's like when they paid Sylvester Stallone a lot of money to get to direct it and star in it or whatever. But at no point when making this like $35 million movie did they stop and go, is arm wrestling compelling? Like do people want to watch arm wrestling? Can you make a movie around that? You know? And it's such the canon way that level of introspection about you spending $30 million, why do it? And I think this movie is a great example of that. It's just like they never stopped, because why stop? Stopping is just slowing, just keep going. What is King Solomon's Mines? Who cares? We're already talking about it. Who is this hippo? Where did this hippo come from? I don't know. It's already gone. Who
cares when you can do action? Okay, we're not here to tell stories. We're here for action.
Yeah.
It's and that.
Now there's quicksand. Now there's a pit. Now there's a water pit with water in it. There's the hippo. Oh, and we're drowning. Everything's filling with water, and we're gonna have the snakes slither by because now there's snakes in the pit too.
Yeah.
What drugs were they on when they were making this? Like, who came up with all the action set pieces?
Oh my gosh.
I think. Oh my gosh, that water shot too, because they cut to it and there's a snake. and then they like cut back to the 2 shot of them, and then they cut back to their shot, and then there's a bigger snake,
and then there's
they cut back to them and they're talking. Then
It's
they
a
cut, and
lizard.
there's like a lizard or a baby alligator. Like, you know, it's just like there's just everything in here.
They tried to, yeah. Well, what's the line from Jurassic Park? Spare no expense. Like,
oh yeah,
that's this film.
Spare no
expense.
They're like, we can do every action cliche so that moving forward they're copying us. We'll do all of them.
That's a really smart way to do it. Yeah. We will change the definition of the textbooks that they're copying us.
The textbook is now me.
Oh man, the other moment that stands out in my brain is when she's in the airplane. She's in the airfield. It's spinning around. He gets on finally. They fly, and then they play chicken. And first and foremost, the German guy, he's clearly on a green screen. They didn't bother to bring a fan that day when they were filming. It's just like no ambient elements whatsoever when they're recording him. But then also like when they finally do their chicken maneuver, whatever, like his little feet are dangling on the side of the plane. Like that. No point did he like try to get into the seat of the plane, and that's what they were going for. It was the kicking of the feet. That was it. That was the build up to that moment. That was the payoff in that moment.
Never lost.
There's a devil. Has that Schweinhund gone?
But they haven't moved.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's how he went down. Why are you? Oh my goodness!
It's so hard sometimes. You want to blame the editor, but then you're like, you know
Someone
what?
shot this too.
He probably had no other options. You know, he's like looking at the reel, being like, there ain't nothing else here, kids. And I just
yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
No, you're totally right. And I think that's a lot of it too, is they're building up to all of these things. And then when the payoff happens, you're like, oh, so a couple rocks go underwater? You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, you know, when the final big reveal happens, it's not, you know, like that sequence, that airfield sequence, the airfield from the air fight. It's probably, what do you think? 5.5 to 7, probably 5.5 minutes long, probably maybe 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It should be 2.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that should be 2.5 minutes, and then the payoff is him kicking him a couple times in the head, and then stock footage of a plane going down.
Spiraling down. It was
right.
And then they cut away to an explosion. It wasn't actually the plane crashing. It was the cutaway to an explosion. Oh my gosh. And then the other explosion that stands on my brain is when they're leaving the mountain. And then the overlay, they didn't do it correctly. And you can see the explosion going over their faces.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Every explosion was just like thrown on the film itself, you know, just like boop.
There was literally no shortage of explosions throughout this film.
I know.
It was like, that was like the movie. It was like Explosion the movie is really what it was. So
Explosion the movie.
McKinnon.
So here's something that I've been thinking, and I'm interested to how you guys feel about it. I think of all the movies we've watched so far, this one felt the most like a movie.
Yes.
Like I feel like I watched a movie.
As opposed to good.
I'm not saying it's good, but I mean, but do you agree with me?
Or even enjoyable. Like at all.
Yeah, no, it is not necessarily.
Bring back
good,
the
but...
Joey Fatone fish movie.
Oh no, do not bring that
please.
Back.
Yes!
No!
Oh
No!
What? So I think one of my favorite, I guess, revelations or thoughts that we had on the previous discussion was: has there ever been a movie that was made intentionally bad? You know, that was actually like good, like the inverse of that. And so,
Troll 2.
I don't know.
He was trying. They were trying.
I know they were.
Yeah, and that's like
the core.
And the thing is, this movie is they're making conscious. There's definitely intention with a lot of these decisions. They're like, we intend for this scene to look like this. I would assume, right? This is how we intend it, short of the "Get me the stone girl," for the movie. Like maybe that's the part where it just kind of unravels. And oh my goodness, now I wonder what that movie would look like with Kathleen Turner, versus Sharon Stone. I mean, the delivery of the lines. So, but anyways, there's definitely some intentions. There's definitely deliberate choices made along the way. And I think one of the nice conversations we've had previously was your defense of Michael Bay, where there's a specific vision in his brain, just like there's a specific vision with the Cannon films, right, of how this movie is going to look. Right, we need Richard Chamberlain falling through the ceiling, and to save Sharon Stone's character. Right, we need that scene. That has to be in the movie. It's got to be in there. We need him kicking his little feet and taking out the other plane. Moments like that, and that again that plays into this. Felt like a movie. It was definitely a movie altogether, and I think that in hindsight, the movies we've seen so far, like I don't like my opinions kind of changed about Atlantic Rim. I don't know about you guys over time.
Can we watch that again?
Well, you've been cutting shorts and cutting reels from it lately, so you've probably been engaging with Atlantic Rim a little more than we have over the last month.
Yeah, but I mean, I also think about the conversations we had too. About what we've seen. Like, I wasn't too crazy about Top Gunner in comparison to Atlantic Rim. I thought that was a step down.
Can we watch that again?
But there were moments though, and I kind of think about like when we watch, for example, this film, like we're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, but we're getting a lot of enjoyment along the way. And there's
this one,
yeah.
Are we watching the same movie?
We're laughing, dude. We're laughing. And there's some value in that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's ideal. If you had to ask me which is a better film, Raiders or this King Solomon's Mines, I would take Raiders 10 out of the 10 times. You know what I mean? Like, I actually feel something walking away.
Oh,
so,
yeah. With this, not really.
Yeah, for sure.
After the first 10 minutes, I'm like, I'm already out because I can't follow what the characters are doing while we're here. So I can't do it. Like, now it's just set piece after set piece.
Yeah.
If there's no plot, I can't get into it. And even like the Asylum movies, there's a plot. So that's just me. That's my thing. Is I gotta be able to follow the plot line. I gotta know I gotta emotionally connect with people. So you could do that even in the bad movies. This doesn't have any of that.
So I'm interested. Like, I totally get that, and I'm interested. I'm pretty sure it's Roger Ebert's review from Mulholland Drive when it came out, right? David Lynch's Mulholland Drive or whatever, and he said, "You will have no idea what is going on for much of this movie." And David Lynch is incredible at making it thrilling and compelling, despite you having no idea what is going on. Right? Like, it's not required that you understand the plot, or even that there is a plot.
But you're still interested in trying to understand it.
And that's at least from Roger Ebert's perspective, I thought that was a very interesting thing to say about Mulholland Drive. I disagree with him. I think it makes complete sense. It's perfect. It's one of the greatest films of all time. Right. But I think its point still stands. And I am interested to how you feel about that. Like, because that seems like the opposite of what you're saying for the most part, right? That, like, if there isn't a plot, then how can it be compelling? Which is totally logical. It makes sense.
Right. I go on the Aristotle philosophy, Act 1, 2, and 3, the hero's journey. I'm like by the book which is really funny because, like, in normal life, I'm not by the book on anything. So I'm always like throw the book out. But like on that, I'm very much follow the formula. Because you could attach with it and the audience is going to be able to attach with it. So just on that alone. So with this,
yeah,
what are they overcoming? What are we after? Why are we after it? What is the call to adventure? At first, we're going to rescue the father. At some point, he disappeared. I don't even remember why or how, but where did he go? And then after that, it's like, okay, we're going after it. Well, why are we going after it? What was the relevance here? Were they at all of those things, And why are the bad guys even here at all? Other than they're Nazis in Africa. And apparently there's Nazis in Africa that are also looking for the mine, or you lose me there.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. They could have done so much that if they just seated right, because the thing is, hey, let's find the father. Then they find the father, and the father's like, thank you for saving me. I was going to die, and I was going to watch my daughter be violated by a Nazi, but now my life is now that you've saved me, my life is meaningless unless we find King Solomon's mine. And they're like, well, okay, I guess let's go. But like, if they had done anything during that first 40 minutes before they save him to explain what King Solomon's mine is, then maybe we could understand the decision to go on after that. But they don't. They don't.
And it wouldn't have taken much. It would have been a couple of lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
And like, you spent all this time doing all this other stuff. It could have been while the actions and that's, it wouldn't have taken much.
That would have been a great.
Who is Quatermain?
Yeah.
Not Quatermain. Who's Quatermain?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who? Why is he here? Other than I'm here to help you find your dad. And then apparently now he doesn't seem nearly as knowledgeable as the 1950s version.
No.
At all. Like even at all.
He knows a lot more about dynamite.
Oh my goodness, the dynamite. Well, guys, here, we're gonna have to wrap this up here. We're over time here a little bit, but would you guys recommend King Solomon's Mines 1985 version?
I wish I had 1985. Yeah, I wish I had more thumbs to give that 4 thumbs down. Marc
says yes. You recommend it?
I mean, look, this is my kind of trash. This is the trash I grew up on. Kind of as we talked about, kind of at the beginning, canon really means something to me. This sort of 6-year period where they just had infinite resources, but like minimal knowledge of what audiences wanted to see in films.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is an incredible study in that. It's just another part and parcel of it. Death Wish 3, Death Wish 4, 10 to Midnight, Delta Force 2, over the top, like
just any Chuck Norris film, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like, right? Yeah, they funded the Chucks in the 80s, right? Every Chuck Norris movie, every Chuck Bronson movie, they were all canon, and they all just are like 1 degree away from real movies. You watch them and you're like, oh, this is like an alien who's studied movies but hasn't really experienced movies, and it's so cool. I love it. I love that they get Sharon Stone and friggin' the dude from Shogun, like Richard Chamberlain, and they just go to Africa and they're like, yeah, figure it out. Like that feels freeing to me. And watching
I think Richard Chamberlain does a pretty good job of carrying the role in the film. I think I find him very entertaining. I think I think he carries it like a pro. Personally, I think he does a good job with it. I question Sharon Stone and the choices of her performances.
Real bullets.
Yeah. You got the line. That was the line. You know what? And I will admit, you guys, seeing it next to these other films that we watched is going to have to make me assess my bias on why do I like this film more than I like Atlantic Rim or whatever. Why?
Yeah.
Because they are both bad. And they are both bad editing, and as we agreed, not really compelling the full way through. But why is it that I allow more latitude to this movie than I do Atlantic Rim? And I'm gonna soul search on that. Let me know in the comments. Maybe is it just because I'm a boomer? Is that what it is? It could be,
the youngest boomer ever.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. Well, guys, great. I personally enjoyed it. That's where, I mean, at this point, I think that was obvious that I got some enjoyment out of this film. I might casually
have to say that because you're about to do the edit of this 3-hour recording we've done. So whatever you got to tell yourself, Andy.
It was great, guys. It was fantastic. Yeah. And maybe part of it is this is a movie that you watch with friends, right? And that's, watching it by myself, maybe my opinion would be different. Like there are definitely some films where you kind of socialize around as you watch it, whereas I'm sitting there at my kitchen table watching Raiders, and I'm like just like so nearly focused on everything that's going on, and the movie is effectively sucking me in. And this movie's been around for 40 plus years at this point, and it still is able to have that same effect as time progresses. And it's just, there's something about that. But again, guys, this is fun. I had a really good time, commiserating. I don't know. I wasn't even commiserating this time around. There were definitely some, choices where I'm like, if I was, I would never make a movie like this. If I was a filmmaker, I would never make a movie like this unless, I don't know, I'm having fun. And I think to your previous point, Mark, if they're having fun, that's really all that matters. Right. I think maybe that's either you or Nate on the last one, but anyways, you're about to say something.
No, I think that a good indicator is sometimes when we're watching movies together, we are all silent. And the reason we are silent is because we really wish that we were not watching the movie, right? And we just have nothing good to say, and we're just like sitting there. Maybe we're checking our phones right quick. We're just doing something, and we're trying to rack our brains. Multiple times during this movie, none of us were talking because we were compelled.
Yes.
Because there were compelling scenes, because, we were interested in it. And I'm not sure how often that has happened yet so far, of us being silent because it was actually propelling a momentum in the movie that made us want to watch it.
100%. 100%.
You seem skeptical, David.
Don't defend this movie. We just don't defend. Don't end on a really positive note.
All right, David, send us out then, David.
No, that was a perfect way to wrap everything up. I'm just annoyed that it's a really good way to wrap it up. It's a very good way. You know what? The memories we made along the way. Good night, folks.
All right. On that,
the treasure was the memories.
The treasure was the memories. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. See ya.
Yes.